The A7R, the original megapixel beast, versus the A7 Mark II, the image stabilized beast. Let's talk.
2 cups, toast up with the gang. From food stamps to a whole nother domain. Out the bottle, I'm a living proof.
What is the deal, beautiful people? It's your boy Ramon, Lifestyle Defined. Welcome back to another episode of AMA. Today's question comes from DjSeanTacos, DjSeanTacos, and his question is: debating between getting the Sony A7R Mark I or the Sony A7 Mark II, which is my beloved Sony for photography. Any advice? Is the image stabilization on the A7II worth having fewer megapixels than the A7R? So, I didn't have tons of hands-on time with the A7R, the original, but Brian used to shoot with that camera, and I played with it a few times. There are probably two things about that camera that I specifically remember being sort of a turnoff. One was how loud the shutter was. Oh my god, that shutter was super loud. And I encourage you, DjSean, if there's a camera store somewhere close to you or that you can get to and actually hold and play with this thing, you need to hear this shutter, because it's one of the things when you're like, it's not a big deal, how loud could it be? Bruh, that thing is loud. So there's that. And then there's the fact that because the shutter is so violent and is so forceful, it was actually pretty difficult to get a sharp image. Like, the shutter actually vibrated the entire camera. And I remember Brian complaining about this, and I did some forum diving, and it was an issue with this camera. It was an issue with this camera mainly because there was no IBIS, no in-body image stabilization. Or your Sony, the A7 Mark II, which is what you're asking about, which is what I use, has the 5-axis image stabilization, and that could have had a chance to sort of stop the camera from shaking when the shutter was the way it was. But I mean, I don't even know. That shutter was just wild, and you know, I would see a lot of posts that it was so difficult to get really sharp and properly composed images, particularly long exposure images with that camera. So I would stay away from it. My advice to you is the Sony A7 Mark II. Sure, it's not the 36. Is it 36? Hang on, let me. I think it's, yeah. It doesn't have the 36 megapixel count like the A7R. It's 24, right? But you know, it is stabilized like you mentioned, and it's still a full frame sensor. So there's still tons of detail to be had there. You know, when looking at something like the A7R or the new A7R II, oftentimes I think a lot of that megapixel count can be overkill. So I would definitely sacrifice a lot of that megapixel count for other things. So in this case, sacrificing the megapixel count from the A7R to the A7 Mark II means you get that optical image stabilization, you don't get the camera shake from the shutter, and you don't get the super loud shutter. My god, that thing is loud. I can't emphasize that enough to you. If you look at something like the A7R II, if keeping in mind what I said about the crazy high megapixels being overkill, you step down to something like the A7II or the A7S II, I would give up that high megapixel count for better low light performance. And that's a thing, right? The more megapixels, sort of the less, I forget why. I think Tony Northrup's got a pretty good video on this explaining why. But the lower your megapixel count, the better it is for low light imagery. So I would gladly give that up any day, you know. But obviously you're looking at these two cameras, so I can say you're budgeting right now for the full frame. So I can't even recommend the A7R II. But what I will say, again, Brian now shoots with the A7R II, and it is an amazing camera. I mean, they fixed so much of that issue. The shutter's not crazy anymore. It's still got the high megapixel count. Now it's even got the silent shutter. So I think Sony turned around and fixed every single issue that A7R had. But, you know, I would stay away from the A7R. That's my least favorite in the A7 lineup. So yeah, I mean, guys, join the conversation down below in the comment section. I know a lot of you guys know tons about this stuff, and you can offer out some advice. So let's help out DjSean here. Like the video if you like it, and if you're new here, you don't know how AMA work, you ask your question down in the comment section below. We'll answer it in upcoming videos, and we'll get the community involved. My name is Ramon. I'm out of here. Peace. If I had to describe Lifestyles Defined, I would say it is a dream come true. To have a platform where we can talk about the things that we love, and we can share with people who also love the things we love the way we love, and just have conversations that matter and go back and forth and grow as a community. It's been a pleasure. It's been a dream, and I just want to thank everyone that's involved for rocking out with us.